Man, I could listen to these guys all day. Oh well, as it goes. Welcome, Live with the Shaman. I do post the link to the playlist in the chat area. I do, yeah. Well, welcome, Live with the Shaman. We are discussing today in our series of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, if you will, what the Council of Nine is. And in all reality, um, the Council of Nine could be construed as the Council of 13, if you wanted to go there. Ah, there it is. All right. So, with this in mind, without further ado, and without wasting a whole lot of time with my jibber jabber, if you will, we're going to slide over to my left monitor. And I hope everyone can see that. Those of you that are new to our channel, welcome. Those of you that have known me for many years, welcome to you as well. So we're going to start at the top, and this is, like I say, this is not all shaman groves. This is not all of shamanism that follows this. This happens to be the teaching of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. Now, I have the graph up without the names of my particular Celtic gods because, in all reality and all understanding, they don't have names. You don't have to name them, okay? But if we take a look at Great Spirit is where everything begins with us. Great Spirit is neither male nor female, but Great Spirit is a androgynous being that encompasses both masculine and feminine, but neither male nor female. And let's talk about this for just a moment. Good morning to those of you that have just joined. Let's talk about Great Spirit for just a moment as far as the GCS goes. Great Spirit doesn't come at it from male or female. And this tends to get rather confusing for many because Great Spirit is not male or female, but an androgynous being of both the balance of masculine and feminine. So when we talk about gods, we're not necessarily talking about male male gods. We're talking about the masculine side of the Great Spirit. And we talk about goddesses. If I call down the triad, the Great Spirit, and the God and Goddess, I will call down the Great Spirit and the masculine and the feminine side of Great Spirit for guidance, for teaching, protection, whatever. Now, if you have further questions about this, please feel free to PM myself, Clint, Sabrina, Cindy, anybody else that is oath to the GCS. They can explain it real well if I'm not explaining it good. So we move in now to what these are. You'll notice I have 4 blocks here. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, and you need to understand something, in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman are cardinal points, right? The cardinal points of north, east, south, and west do not have elements with them. There are 5 elements and there are 4 cardinal points, right? And those cardinal points are north, east, south, and west. And the elements, of course, are spirit, earth, air, fire, and water, not always in that order. So as you can see, the Council of 9 is the cardinal points in conjunction with the 5 elements. Now, if I'm needing the positive energy of the north, I may simply call to the opening of the portal of the north that I need truly positive energy to help me get through a situation, but like I've always taught my students, never call north without also calling south. Why? Well, if you call north, which is the feeder of positive energy, and you don't call south, which is the vacuum of negative energy, then vacuum energy, the negative energy has no place to go. So it just finds itself swirling in amongst all of that positive base energy that the north is feeding. So you actually want to, if you're simply going to call for energy, you want to open the northern and the southern portals. If we're looking for the warmth and the blessing and the cleansing of the rising sun, we call east, right? Well, I'm not going to call east without calling west because west is also the showing of the moon. Or if you're in a new moon, there is no moon, thereby opening up the cleansing to the darkness. For it is only through understanding the darkness of the west that we can see the light of the east. Wonderfully confused yet? Well, welcome to the life of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. So again, and this is more or less just simply strictly to help understand that the Council of Nine, without the triad, there would actually be no need for the Council of Nine. Got it? So with this understanding, we have north, east, south, and west, which are the cardinal points. They're not always masculine. There may be periods of time that I may call for the feminine to assist with the northern portal, and I may call for a masculine to assist with the southern portal. And I don't recommend first years give this a whole lot of try. Right now, first years need to be paying attention how to call the cardinal points. As you become a little bit more advanced in your first year, you'll learn how to call the elements. The elements, again, not always in this order, but they are spirit, earth, air, fire, and water. Thus giving the Council of Nine. Now, in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, in the training through the first year, the senior student, and the priest, and the high priest, and so on and so forth, you have different levels. You will be required to learn certain things within those levels in accordance to what, the way your teacher will fundamentally teach these issues from a level 1 standpoint. Irregardless of whether someone comes to us, we've had people come to us that may have studied shamanism for 5 or 10 or so years, but when they come into the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, I explain to them, you are a first year dedicate. I don't want you to forget everything you ever thought you knew, but I want you to open your mind and get ready, because you've come over to the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, that you will be required to learn our way. What you do with it after that is strictly up to you. Now, of course, in the GCS, you notice down here, you may have one or two. Now, this down here, here is your listing, in case you forget them, of what your cardinal points are and what your elements are. This section here, more or less, is me precisely. Granted, a lot of my students end up filling in these blanks with their own spirit guide, stroke spirit guides, um, mythical guide, and warrior. The mythical guide and the warrior for me, my mythical guide is Pegasus, i.e., the teacher, and my warrior is Chinook, i.e., well, the red-headed warrior, if you will. Visitors of the council, also known as SEPs, are friends of the council. These can change in accordance to whoever is visiting your council at the time in the astral during meditation and training. Now, you're not going to be expected to remember all of this. Those of you that may be watching the Grove of the Celtic Shaman and trying to understand what we are, what we're about, how we teach, and how we learn, and so forth. Those of you that have been in it for a while, this may be a bit of a reminder because, well, sometimes we do get dazed, crazed, and confused and lost in our own world and what's going on therein. So, what I'm going to pull up now is the listing of my counsel and those who guide me. Look out. And I haven't had a chance to go through and add any color to this, so I apologize now. It is staunch white with black text, so there you go. Now, here is my counsel, right? Great Spirit, God and Goddess. I have Hearn as my primary god, if you will, on the masculine side. Belinus, Bell. I never can pronounce that, so I call it Camillus. Morgane, Bridget, Aramid, Annie, and Aaronrod. And I am probably completely screwing up those pronunciations of those names. Those names came to me back in, 2001 during meditation. When I took my dedication to the priesthood, they decided to start slapping me with names of my council. My spirit guides, known to me as White Angel, Gray Eagle, there's Pegasus and Chinook, the mythical guide and the warrior. Here are the Seps, the friends, the visitors. The Queen of the Seelie and Queen of the Unseelie Court accepted me as their warrior many years ago. And the Arachnus Queen. Now, the Arachnus Queen has a bit of a sense of humor. If you want to know exactly what she's about, you can research her. My wife gives me a hard time all the time. You really do need to talk to the queens of the spiders because they need to stay outside. I'm like, shit, like I have any control over them. But if we take a look at the basic understanding of what the Council of Nine is, when you're casting the Council of Nine in a circle, in an actual circle, your candles are going to be, you're going to have two candles in the north. You're going to have one candle each in the cardinal points, and then in between those cardinal points is where you're going to have your elemental candles. Like in north, you'll have two candles. One of them is for the north portal, and in south you're going to have two candles, or one candle, I'm sorry, for the southern portal. As we go clockwise around the circle, it'll go two candles in the north, and then we'll have a candle for earth, a candle for east, a candle for air, a candle for south, and I confuse the hell out of myself when I'm sitting here just trying to tell somebody without looking at my own graph or actually standing in circle doing it. Guess it doesn't say much for me for a master, does it? Doing it, it flies off the top of my head. If I'm teaching someone, I can go through it with no problem. But essentially, your spirit, earth, air, fire, and water candles or torches, whatever you want to use, go clockwise around the circle, but they are placed mid-drift in between the cardinal points. And I notice no one is talking, or if you are, um, seriously, if you guys are chatting, I'm not seeing it. So, I mean, it looks like two are watching live, and I don't see any chats. But what I'm going to do is pull up here the live stream video just simply because I want to know if anyone is actually talking. Okay, so it looks like Cindy just joined. Clint's multitasking. And here we go. All right. So yeah, it looks like I can see people chatting. But all right. So that being said, over over in the Council of Nine, Sabrina's baking a cake. Huh. Yes, please. Wait, what kind? What's in it? Don't want to know what's in it. Anyway, I digress. Council of Nine. So what do you think? Those of you that are watching, what do you think about the Council of Nine? If you can chat, I know some of you are multitasking, some of you may be driving, some of you may be baking or doing other things. What is your counsel? Well, if you can't type it, think about it. But let's go over it here again, shall we? Great Spirit, androgynous being, neither male nor female. Gods, meaning masculine, not always male, but masculine. Goddesses, not always female, but feminine. There are times that we just need a feminine touch on what we're doing. So I may call the feminine aspect of the Great Spirit to assist me in whatever it is I'm trying to do. And Clint says not all of me are known to, not all of mine are known to me yet, and that's perfectly fine. You do not have to name your counsel, right? Your counsel can simply be voices in the Great Hall. You may have never been able to put a face to them, a being to them, a shape to them. All they are is voices of light, and that's perfectly fine. Sabrina says 3-layered German chocolate cake. Oh my. Oh my. Yes, to love German chocolate. Yes, be right over. No, I'm joking. I wish. Ha. So anyway, yes, um, your Council of Nine doesn't have names. They don't have to have names. They already essentially have names of north, east, south, and west. and your elements already have names of spirit, air, fire, water, earth. Now, spirit, air, fire, water, earth, the reason it's put in that way in the tradition, because that's the way we call it in circle. We have spirit because without spirit we have no life. Then we call air because without air there is no life. Fire, well, fire can mean sun, fire can mean lightning, fire can mean anything that forms heat. Without fire, there is no life. Water, the blood of the mother. As we all know, without water, there is no life. And without Mother Earth, we always call Mother Earth last because we give her the greatest love, the blessings, and everything because, as we all know, without Earth, there is nothing. I mean, granted, um, if come the day that humans destroy the Earth as we know it, the big rock ball will still be there, whether or not humans are on it, whether or not trees are on it, whether or not anything is fertilized or fertilizable, will depend on how bad humans screwed it up, as it were. So, like I say, not all shamans, not all shaman groves, not all shaman tribes have a council of nine. Native Americans just simply have the Great Spirit. They acknowledge the cardinal points, they acknowledge the elements. They don't see the cardinal points and elements as deity, if you will. Most Native American tribes do not recognize the goddess as a deity, though most Native American tribes do put their women, their squaws, if you will, far more and above them because they realize and they acknowledge that without the mother, well, everything else is just kind of useless, isn't it? So here's the thing about life with the shamans and some of the topics that we covered during our series of the tradition of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman is most of the things we talk about, unless it's heavily engaged in the chat area, I can give usually a quick description inside of about 15 to 20 minutes. So I hate just doing a 15 or 20-minute video. I'd rather have interaction in the chat area. I tend to kind of agree with you, Dave. If we're not careful, um, if we're not careful as humans, we will pollute ourselves right out of a Mother Earth to live on. However, I also firmly believe that human beings have the ability to turn around. So far, right now, we have the ability to turn around the things that we've done to essentially condemn Mother Earth to a very nasty end. And I'm also a believer that every beginning has an ending, regardless of when that ending may be. But I digress. So, the conversation of the Council of Nine is a relatively simple one. However, when it comes to the actual understanding of the Council of Nine, it's not such a simple one. The Council of Nine, as far as the Grove is concerned, we tend to look at it as a structure in which can give us strength, not necessarily give us power, but give us something to lean on when we as humans get a little weak. Now, the interesting part is, though all of my Council of Nine are named, I never ever call those names in circle. I call what they stand for, which is north, east, south, west, spirit, air, fire, water, earth, what have you. I call what they stand for to me. But the true Council of Nine, the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, first years are taught to follow the cardinal points and the elements when calling circle. I never call my spirit guides, my mythical guide, or my warrior to circle. Well, of course, my spirit guides and my mythical guide and warrior is always with me, right? Because they're a part of me. Visitors and seps to the council, you may have those, you may not. I never call them to circle. I may call on them in council. I may call on them when I am in visitation with my council and needing to do something, right? So why would I need any part of the Council of Nine? Well, when we call a high caste, we call all 12. All 12. We call Great Spirit. We call God and Goddess. We call the four cardinal points. And we call the five elements. That's 12. Now, first years, I generally don't ever have them call the triad. I don't allow first years to call the triad. Good morning. Dave says when he calls on the elemental directions, he says we, but not we, but him. Um, Calls on the completion of who we are. Not in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. We don't call on these in completion of who we are, because each one of the cardinal points and each one of the elements stand on their own. Now, it's like I said earlier, I'm not going to call forward the northern portal to bring in positive energy without opening the southern portal to vacuum the negative energy. Okay? I'm not going to call forward the eastern portal to bring forward the home of the rising sun for the warmth and the light without calling the western portal for the vacuum of the darkness, for it is through darkness that we can truly see light. And just trying to explain this from a basic standpoint, um, from there. The elements, I am I have been known to call one element at a time. Just call what I need. Why would I call all five elements when all I'm trying to do is build a campfire to be warm and maybe prepare my meal? So I will call forward the element of fire to help me get that fire going, right? And I will call forward the element of earth when I go to cover the fire over. I give thanks to the fire for keeping me warm, preparing my meal. I typically try not to put water on the fire because all it does is make a mess. But I try to shovel it in with dirt to cover up the fire pit that I dug for my fire. Dave, I completely agree with you. Yes, we We are made of the elements. We're made of the cardinal points. We're made of the elements. One of the interesting things, I was watching a documentary the other day that was talking about the shifting of the poles, right? Um, Northeast, south, and west, of course. And we've noticed in the last 25 years that what used to be compass north has moved about 15 degrees. And one of the documentaries I watched was where scientists were talking about the poles have shifted or swapped ends before, and there is geological proof of this where north and south have swapped ends before. The magnetic poles have changed. Um, Quite frankly, I would not want this to happen in my lifetime. I definitely would not want this to happen in my lifetime at all, because the conversation they were having would be a complete about face and a complete implosion of society as we know it. And all you have to do is think about how migrating birds find their way flying south for the winter and flying north-ish to migratory breeding grounds during the summer. They've proven that they use little magnet type, if you will, magnetic bones in their heads to know directions and where they're flying, making sure they're flying the correct direction. Do birds always fly north to south, south to north? No, they do not. They fly east to west and they fly every other possible direction there is. But when they are migrating, they have particular directions that they fly, and they fly that way all the time. Could you imagine if the north and the south swapped ends, how bad that would be? So, what I'm going to do is to stay on topic, right? I'm going to go through the Council of Nine one more time, and then I think I'm going to cut you loose to enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I know some areas are having really beautiful weather. We're not, I can tell you that. But let's go through it one more time. I'd look to entertain questions further on. So if you have any questions about what we've covered, about what we've gone over, please feel free. Hit us up. Let us know. Here we go. So once again, Great Spirit, our all, if you will, our all is built on Great Spirit. Great Spirit is but an androgynous being, masculine and feminine. Gods are not always male. Goddesses are not always female. Our part of our Celtic points, our Celtic shaman points, are our cardinal points, which are north, east, south, and west. And then our elements begin with spirit, air, fire, water, earth. Everything below this is personal to you. In the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, you will farm these as you go along. I strongly recommend that you work with your teacher. Ask lots of questions. Once you reach the senior priesthood and your teacher says, okay, it's time for you to call down the triad. I generally don't allow my senior students or my priests and priestesses to call down the triad until about mid priesthood. unless they branched off and become their own teachers and they do whatever the hell they think they're big enough to do, as it were. So, that being said, this will be another one of our short video weeks. And one of the things that you guys need to remember, especially those of you that are newcomers, those of you that may be what we call seekers or first years, don't rush through this. Take your time. Learn what it is to call circle. Learn what it is to call circle using each and every one of the Council of Nine. Understand the first four first. Cast them up, cast them down in a training circle. They're perfectly fine with that. When you cast them down, always say thank you for your presence. Go as you will. Don't just haphazardly go, I'm done with you, blow out the candle. It's your headache. You can live with it. I don't want it. Same way with the elementals for sure. When you're doing a training ritual, that's perfectly fine. All deity is fine with you doing a training ritual. It's how you learn. It's how you learn their energy, how they work, what they do. Clint says first time he called the triad, he froze. So did I. Calling the triad is a big responsibility because it's kind of like calling the boss and going, hey, this is a training call. I'm calling you to make sure I don't screw it up. While the triad is a little more forgiving than your boss may be at work because they understand, after all, we are human. And when we're calling on them, we're calling on an aspect of them, right? I'm not just calling down the all-important Great Spirit and God and Goddess. I call on their aspects that guide me. I realize they're busy. When I call them down, I'm not expecting all of them. I'm not that stuck up my own butt to think I'm that important. Something you might want to think about. So the triad is very important to us. It is the foundation of everything that we follow in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. I know that I have a first year that has assignments she has to turn in, things she has to do, and I have a high priestess that has things to do. And I think you know who you are. I also have a master priest that has things he has to do. But anyway, that's alright, because my guides are quite simply telling me I have things I have to do. So I will get them. I will get them. I have this great big round to it, and it's flat on one side. But anyway, I do thank you for watching Live with the Shaman, as always. And we are here to answer your questions the best way we can as you have questions. We're here for you as you need help. You can go over to the Open Grove of the Celtic Shaman, which the link is in the introduction area. Feel free to slide over there, join up. You don't have to be a shaman to come in and ask questions. All we ask is that you're respectful of the answers, because the answer we're giving you is from our own experience, maybe not necessarily always something you might want to hear, as it were. But I hope you enjoy your week, and we will definitely see you right back here next week on Live with the Shaman. Thank you for watching. Click like or dislike. Click subscribe. Click the bell so you get dinged. There you go. Have a great day.